Hello and welcome on in to this next session in the Black Girl Gamers Online Summit 2024. My name is Steve Saylor. I am a content creator and accessibility advocate and consultant in the video game industry. But today, I get to do an amazing creator session. I'm not saying amazing because I'm like, the content's amazing, but I'm just saying this because this whole online summit's amazing. But also, today, I'm not coming at you as an accessibility consultant or a content creator. I'm coming at you as a professor today. Previous part of my life is I used to be able to be a professor at a college for about 12 to 13 years. And I used to teach how to be able to make accessible content on social media, also as well as being able to help develop game developers to be able to build an online presence. So I'm going to be Professor Steve today, and there's only a few rules I have in my classroom that you're joining today. A, it's okay to ask any question that you like. There is no such thing as a stupid question. I may potentially give a stupid answer because sometimes I like to be able to goof off like that, but there is no such thing as a stupid question. So if you have a question, please feel free to ask in the chat, and I will. But also B, or subsection to that, 1B, like 1A, is that unfortunately, because I am blind, I may not be able to get to the question at the moment. So I will save those questions till the end of the presentation because it is a very quick crash course today. So I will get to those as best as I can at the end of the lecture for today. So just as a heads up, ask whatever you want, and I'll just get to those at the end. Also, B, have a good time. It's great. We're here to learn. And also C, because it's all about accessibility in this regards, whatever I mention in today as sort of like things to do, don't take of it as these are things you have to do, or otherwise you could get canceled, or you could potentially like lose, or people be very pissed off at you or disappointed in you. No, what I'm suggesting are things that be able to help disabled users to be able to look at, view, or listen to your content, and you want as many people to listen, view, or read your content. So I want to, this is more of like a disabled creators, essentially, or at least disabled viewers. We kind of go into disappointed. We're never mad, or sometimes we can be mad, and there's always going to be those people, but we're more like in that disappointment. We're basically like, we're kind of like that parents. Basically, we're not mad, we're disappointed, and we just want you to be able to. So this is more of an encouragement to, you're not doing anything wrong by missing certain steps. You're not doing anything, anything that's nefarious, or you're being politically incorrect by not doing this stuff. This is just something that basically it'd be really nice to do. If you do it, you basically are making a lot of disabled viewers happy and can also enjoy your content. So we're going to jump right into the presentation. Okay, waiting for the transition. There we go. All right, so first off, because we got a crash course, we only got like a few minutes to be able to talk about this. So I'm going to try to go through as much as I can, and again, answer questions at the end. First off, I'll just do a quick introduction. Again, hi, I'm Steve Saylor. I'm blind, and I play video games. I have been an accessibility consultant for the past, 5 to 6, 7 years. I think it's depending on when I can't remember from day to day. Pandemic messed up a lot of my scheduling brain, but I've been working on and helping be able to make help studios be able to make their games more accessible. I've joined amazing teams over the years. I've helped work on the Last of Us series, the Assassin's Creed series, the Watch Dogs series, and now currently working with the folks at Activision for Call of Duty, basically trying to be able to make their games as accessible as possible. I'm also a content creator and Twitch ambassador, and so I also have a TTRPG show that I create on the side that's basically called Dungeons and Disableds, which is basically if you like D&D, if you like watching D&D on Twitch or on YouTube, I basically run a game with disabled creators as the cast. So it's all about disability and best representing people with disabilities in a D&D setting. All right, let's first off with social media. We're going to really jump in right into this. When you're creating content for social media, there are certain things you can be able to do to be able to make it more accessible. And we're going to start off with alt text. Anytime you upload an image to whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, or Blue Sky, unfortunately, a lot of smartphones are kind of dumb in this regards. And I say that as far as the technical term, because whenever it tries to be able to read an image, essentially it just says it as an image. It can't read into what the image actually is. So for blind users, That's why we have the ability to be able to add alt text, which is providing a description for those images. And they all these social platforms have the ability to be able to add an alt text to your image, and you don't have to go into a huge amount of description. I'll get kind of talk about that in a minute. But if there is no option available, or you can't find the option to be able to add alt text to an image, by either adding it into the caption or the description of the post, or add it as a reply to your post with the alt text, you can be able to do it in a format of basically just brackets, alt text, colon, blah, 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 whatever you want to describe it as. You can also add these into animated GIFs as well. Now, how do you be able to describe alt text, or how to be able to describe, like, create a description for an image? The best way to be able to go about it, because you got to, like, because blind users, whenever they use voiceover or a screen reader in order to be able to read these, read social media, the quicker the better. Because even though a lot of those alt descriptions, they provide at least 1,000 characters to be able to provide a description, doesn't mean you need to use all 1,000 characters, and also doesn't mean that if you don't describe everything, that the image is completely worthless. What the best sort of way to be able to go about it is describe what is in the foreground or the subject of the photo. If you're tweeting something that like the caption is related to the image, then relate the alt descriptions to what that caption is. But think of it as if the description or the post itself is the question, think of alt text as the answer, if you're thinking of going that route. Or if it's just an image that you're putting up there to kind of add to your post, describe what is what is generally the subject of the image. So if I was going to take this death loop image that I'm showing right now, basically I can say it's two black characters, one male, one female, facing or sitting or standing back to back to each other, both while holding on to weapons, and they're in front of an orange background. That's it. That's all you really need to do. You don't necessarily need to describe what they're wearing unless that's part or relevant to the post you're making. If you're describing that, like, yo, this jacket is amazing, then you would go into the description with that in the alt text. Same with animated GIFs. Just whatever is, like, you don't have to describe frame by frame on how to be able to just on what a GIF is or what is in the GIF. Basically, just whatever is the subject or the foreground of those animated GIFs. And I'll show you exactly examples of how to be able to do it. So this is how to be able to do it on Twitter. So if you pause, I'll pause here. If you notice that on Twitter, whenever you post an image through the app, there's a little button on the bottom corner that says alt. If you tap on that, that actually brings up the right alt text box. And this is where you can be able to go in and type in whatever description you want. Like I said, so for this particular case, it was a screenshot from the game Control. It's basically, I'm describing as Jesse from Control floating in a spinning, I think it's a spin, I'm gonna say spinning hallway. And I could probably add a little bit more and basically saying, like, it could be black, like, you know, spin the photos in black and white if I wanted to. I could add a little bit there, but I think that kind of just proves the point of what of just, you know, how short you can be with alt text. Same with animated GIFs. So I'm going to choose one of my favorites. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I like to be able to use this particular GIF from Captain Picard. And so you can actually same sort of deal. So let me just go back here. Same sort of deal. If you actually click on whenever you're when you're doing this through mobile, you can do this through desktop as well. It just will say add description as a link underneath the photo or the GIF. But if basically you tap on this alt button again, same as before, and then basically the same alt text things comes up, and you can just be as precise, just whatever is the subject of this GIF. So Captain Picard in Star Trek, clapping. That's all you really need to do. You could probably comment on again on the dope ass, like, formal uniform that he's wearing, or he looks pleased as he's clapping, or congratulatory, whatever it is. You can basically, like, you don't need to again describe frame for frame unless it is relevant to the post itself, and you do have 1,000 characters to be able to do so. Again, brevity is the key, but still describing what is in the image. If you have an image, the social image that has text in it, then it's best to be able to describe what the image is, and then text reads, and then basically type out all the text that's there in whatever priority order that you want. You can do the same thing in Instagram. It's a little bit hard to be able to find on Instagram. You have to go into the basically the advanced settings, which is a link that's down at the bottom. It's very hard to be able to read sometimes. Basically, you go to advanced settings, and then you have to scroll down all the way to the bottom where it says alt text. If you tap on that, then that brings up the little dialogue box, and you can basically just write the same kind of text as you do. It's a weird workaround. I know it's not as simple as just tapping an alt button and it will do it for you. So it is a little bit, you have to try to find it, and so it's not as front and center to help you remind you of writing the alt text, but that's just kind of the way it is. Next section is emojis and ASCII art. Keep emojis to a minimum when writing in your post, 2 to 3 at the most. Because, and I'll show you an example in a minute of how it can sound to a screen reader, to a blind user, when you're trying to be able to add a whole bunch of emojis. Emojis are great. I'm not saying you don't have to do them. Just keep in mind that every single time an emoji is in your post, there is a description for that emoji. It's built into every single mobile operating system, or basically it's just built into operating systems in general. And when a screen reader is reading that, it's reading the description of what that emoji is. And sometimes that can take up a huge amount of time when trying to be able to read the full post. Same thing with ASCII art. There's a ton of ASCII art, or even just using special characters, like anything that basically is not part of the main alphabet. And you have to use special characters in order to be able to utilize. I'm talking about like the ones that you have to go into really hardcore, like basic stuff that you would see in equations or anything like that. Not like every single symbol that's on a default keyboard is fine. I'm talking about like the extra stuff, because that is being read by a screen reader, and it's being read by a special character. You may think, well, why doesn't the operating systems, they update to be able to let you know that, okay, it's reading the ASCII art, and it will read it as a description instead of the actual individual characters. Problem is that it's being used for equations, it's being used for scientific purposes or for other languages. And so no creator of an operating system is fast enough to be able to keep on top of memes, because you know how quickly memes can come and go. And if there's an ASCII art about it, I'm talking like basically, there used to be a whole bunch of it. I don't see it as much now, but again, ASCII art, while cool, best to be able to take a photo of that ASCII art if you still want to use it, and then use the same thing, alt text, in order to be able to describe it. That's all you really need to do. Xbox has done in the past. They've basically, anytime they use an ASCII art, they'll just take an image of it and basically just use it, do the alt text as description to kind of describe what it is in there. That's kind of the workaround around that. Again, I'm not saying you don't use emojis or don't use ASCII art. It's just use it at a minimum, or find ways to be able to try to be able to make it as accessible as possible. If you want an example of what emojis sound like through a screen reader.
Wide, large, square, yellow square, wide, large, square.
This is when Wordle was a thing.
Wide, large, square, wide, large, square, yellow square, wide, large, square, yellow square, yellow square, yellow square, wide, large, square, green.
As you can tell, it's basically like that, and it reads the entire thing. And sometimes I've seen like basically description or like screen readers take 2 minutes and 30 seconds to be able to read an entire post. You don't want to do that. You want to keep it, again, as brief as possible. Unfortunately, with like Instagram and with Twitter, you can be able to write longer posts. That's fine, because that's adding context to what it is you're posting. If you prefer writing, that's totally fine. That's expected. It's just when there's emojis or ASCII art that essentially, if you look at it and you're not blind, you can tell what it is right away. You got to think, now add 2 minutes and 30 seconds for anybody who's using a screen reader to even try to figure out what it is, and it never describes what it actually is at the end. It just basically describes all the different special characters. So keep that in mind if you're creating content on social. So let's talk about video content. This can also translate into audio content. So if you're into podcasting as well, now that sort of podcasting has kind of been synonymous and it's not just audio anymore, this kind of works also with video too. The main thing you want is captions or transcriptions of your video or of your audio content. I'll talk about the audio content because there's a lot more with regards to video content, how to display captions properly. But when it comes to audio, getting a transcription, a text transcription of your entire episode is honestly sometimes the best way for deaf and hard of hearing users who want to be able to follow along with the content while they're listening. Because sometimes anyone who's deaf or hard of hearing can still potentially hear a little bit, even with either cochlear implants or hearing aids, or even just naturally through their own hearing. It's kind of rare. Same with blindness. Is that rare that someone is completely deaf or completely blind? Same, you know, so there is a little bit of here and there, and having that transcription that they can follow along with can also be very beneficial, because then they can be able to recognize the sounds with the words, and makes it much more a much better, more accessible experience. But also just having a transcript as a PDF is a great way also for SEO. So if you want to be able to have that on a website somewhere, having that as also can be able to help be searchable. But also if having that as a PDF or a text document, like whether it's a Word document, whatever, can be very beneficial for anybody, just to be able to, like, hey, I don't have time to be able to listen to this, but I can browse through certain, like browse through a PDF or a text document a little bit easier. That's the best way to be able to go. And there are services to be able to do that, along with that can be able to create captions for your videos too. So there's a lot of, I'll talk about services that essentially do both, which is great. But for captions, when it comes to video content, the standard that has been set by television and film has been the standard for decades, and that is a standard for a reason. And unfortunately, with a lot of social media, there's been a lot of, you know, creating different types of captions and videos, especially for like short form content, which is great. Honestly, I'm so happy that became basically the norm when it comes to creating short form content, because that actually does a benefit of it basically makes a lot of short form content accessible to a lot of deaf and hard of hearing users. So it's great, but some people like to be able to have fun with it, and, you know, and it can be hard to be able to follow along with those captions. If you want to have fun with it, I'm not saying you can't do that, but if you're trying to be able to just create a video that just has a standard default captions without any sort of extra animations or whichever, this is the standard that you want to do going forward. You want to make sure it's a readable font, not something that's super fancy, not something that, like, basically, if you know kind of graphic design, you want to do serif fonts instead of sans serif fonts. Wait, no, sorry, other way around. You want to do sans serif fonts instead of serif fonts. Basically, think of like Arial, Helvetica, Verdana. Those are the kind of fonts you want to use. Then you want to be able to make sure that it's 28 pixel size and minimum, because that is something that essentially, if you're watching content that is 10 feet away on a TV, that is the most readable way for captions to be read on screen. Opaque or semi-transparent background. You don't want it to blend into the environment, especially if you have white text on a white background. That's going to be completely unreadable. So captioning software, there are ways to be able to do it manually yourself. You can do it through Adobe Premiere, which does have auto transcription for you, or other video editing software. CapCut has kind of been known as sort of the best of the bunch when it comes to adding automatic captions. And I say that with a caveat, with an asterisk to it, because right now there's potential that CapCut may take away the ability to be able to add free captions, or be able to do captions for free in their apps, and it may be only unlockable via the pro version of their app. I would say if you're upset about that, as I am, make it known on social media to let CapCut know you cannot take this away, because this is an accessibility feature that needs to be free, that needs to be available, because they are the best ones to be able to do it right now, that is available for anybody. We want to make sure that that stays free and you don't have to pay for that. There are ways to be able to pay for other services that make that is a little bit more human transcriptions, a little bit more better with AI transcription, but that's mostly because, again, captioning is very hard. They have to basically just hit a server in order to be able to, like, try to be able to translate it, and then it brings back the information. So that those servers definitely cost a lot of money, and we just want to make sure that Capcom can be able to keep that free, because it is really accessible. But there are other options as well that are somewhat paid, somewhat free. Mixed Captions is an app for iPhone, AutoCap for Android, and YouTube. You can upload the video to YouTube as an unlisted video, and you can go into the subtitle section, and you can edit it'll do the audio transcription for you. But unfortunately with YouTube, we call them auto craptions for a reason, because they're not great. It's not great at all. But if you go in, and you can actually be able to edit the captions before you publish a video live. So if you have the time, and this is, again, with accessibility, and this is going to be a lot of time, like, there's gonna be a lot of things that's going to see that this is going to add extra time to creating content. And yes, that is the case. But once you get the hang of it, it just becomes part of the production process. So when you go into YouTube and you edit the captions, you go through and you edit basically any mistakes you make, like it makes, like basically reading out. Sometimes the names can be wrong, or even just especially if it's video game content, some of the like video game specific dialogue or language is hard to be able to caption through the audio transcription. So go in and edit it, and once you're done, you can save it, and then that way it is fully accessible to those folks. But also there are captioning services. Again, I talked about YouTube as being a free way to do it. It's a little bit more involved because it's never going to be perfect, but at least it gives you something to kind of build off of. CapCut, again, like I talked about, it's free-ish, and for now. Rev.com is a service that you can be able to pay like it's less than $1 per minute. I think it's what it is now, but that's for AI transcription. Again, you'd have to go in and edit it themselves. And I say edit it because like you have to go in and edit because it's never going to be accurate, and you want to be able to be as accurate as possible. So you can be able to do that. Or Rev also has the ability to pay a little bit more per minute, and you can actually get a human to actually transcribe the video for you. And if you link your YouTube account, you can actually be able to have them, once they've done transcribing and captioning your video, they'll just send the subtitle file directly to YouTube. You don't have to do anything at all, and you can basically you don't have to touch anything. You're good, you're done, and it's about 98% accurate. You might miss like a word or two or misspelling of your name, but for the most part, it is pretty accurate. Descript is another way to edit captions, but it's also a cool way to edit too. It basically transcribes your video, and it breaks it down as in a Word document, and you can be able to go in and edit the text themselves there like you would any Word document. You can also like highlight if there's something in the video that you don't like, you can just highlight it and delete it, and it'll actually edit out the video for you. Descript is free up to about 2 hours worth of content, and then you have to pay for a subscription to be able to get up to 5+ hours. There's also Sonics.ai. I like this one because it's straight $10, or it's pay as you go. It's $10 per hour. Which can be great, especially if you only have a few videos, or if you have a podcast about an hour long. It basically only costs you $10 to be able to get it auto transcribed. Again, you have to go through and edit it yourself, but it does a really great job, and you can be able to download it as a document, a subtitle file that you can upload to YouTube or add it into your editing platform. And then lastly, I've been using this service called Riverside. It's a podcasting platform that is owned by Spotify. Or I can't remember if it's owned by Spotify or it's at least working with Spotify, but essentially what they do there is essentially that you can record there. So it's basically kind of like a Zoom, but you go in, you send a link to a guest, they come in, it records locally their video and audio, and then it uploads it as you're recording, and then it will transcribe the video for you. It also you can download the video individually, and it's high quality as possible. And you can also do the transcriptions and add captions that way as well. It is expensive. It's about, I think, $300 and some odd per year, but it is definitely worth it. And I've been using it for Dungeons and Disabled. If you want to go check out how that is displayed, it also can produce a transcription for it as well to be able to use for a Word document. Now, as far as streaming content, there's not a lot you can be able to do for audio descriptions or for blind users, but it's very easy to be able to add captioning into your streams. You can use the Stream Closed Captioner, which is Twitch's own extension. You have to make sure it's on, and you have to kind of connect to a website to be able to get it to work, but it does work, and it works quite well. If you use OBS, there actually is a plugin called OBS Cloud Caption that will not only be able to transcribe, it uses Google's own cloud captioning software, it transcribes it all for you, but it also integrates it into the Twitch player. So there's no extensions, there's no websites you have to have open. If you go into any stream that has this on, there'll be a little CC icon in the player itself. You click on that, it will show the captions. What's great too is it saves it on your VOD, saves it on your highlights, and you can even save the subtitle file. So if you go in, if you recorded your VODs and you want to go edit it later, you have the subtitles already, the captions already done. You insert that into a video editor, and you can go in and manually edit that way. So those are and then there's also Web Captioner or Google Captions you can be able to sort of integrate as part of your overlay. That's all based on the web, just in case if you don't have OBS or you don't use Twitch. Audio descriptions, generally the best way to be able to go about it is for blind users who come into chat. Practice, reading out chat if you are having a conversation. So read out their chat message, so that way blind users can be able to know what it is that you're who you're talking to and what the questioning they're answering. Also, describe what you're doing as best as possible. Describe every single detail, but if you're playing a game, describe what you're thinking of. Describe what you're doing. That can also help for blind users. And then lastly, things to avoid when you're streaming for accessibility. Games with the flashing images. because that can basically affect those who are photosensitive. Super busy overlays, because again, that affects those who are super sensitive to just a lot on screen. And then lastly, using othering terms for disabilities. It's okay to call someone disabled. That's the proper term. You don't need to use differently abled or special abilities or anything like that. It is totally okay to be able to do to say disabled players or disabled users or anyone with a disability. And that's basically it. So thank you so very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. I want to be able to go see the session here to see if there's any questions that I may have missed. I found OBS has been working so well for me. Amazing, Brittany. Love that. I don't see anything else. I know folks are cursive fonts are aesthetic, but I can't follow along. Yep. I always struggle with the font changer mods for Sims 4 2. Yep. That is something that's more of the Sims kind of thing. The original for OBS if you're a streamer. Yep. I went over that. Love to watch videos with CC. Yeah, especially because a lot of people watch videos with the sound off. And I think that's pretty much it. I don't see anything else. Any other questions, unless anything kind of pops up in here. But anyway, thank you so much. That is it for me. I want to thank again Black Girl Gamers Summit for inviting me out today, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. Take care. Have a good one. Bye bye.